Hey everybody, got another video here for you. Working on guitar number 8 now. The fretless build is completed, such as it is, and it's time for guitar number 8. So, the story of guitar number 8 really starts with guitar number 6. I tried out a different kind of bridge. I was checking it out, compare it to see how it stacked up against the Steinberger R-Type. It's not quite as nice, and the big deal breaker for me is that the spring it comes with is too strong for a set of Ernie Ball 8s. So to salvage the build, I decided to redo it with a Steinberger Type R bridge, and that of course required a slightly different body. So that's the reason why guitar number 8 is being built. And the design for the thing is basically an X13 like this. This is actually guitar number 7, but this is an X13 design basically. With this particular one has a carbon fiber neck, but typically it's a trapezoid neck, and the pickup and the Steinberger and the EQ and stuff like that. For the finish, I wanted to go with a green bar type design, and I decided to go with the green marble contact paper. I can stick it on some of this purple pickguard material and make control panels and such that way. And then the really big thing was going to be the electronics. I was thinking of doing like 3 humbuckers with coil split and on-off and phase and series parallel and the whole 9 yards. And even thinking about doing a Piezo down here and stuff like that. But the more I think about it, the more it's like, that's an awful lot of work. And in the end, you know, a decent EQ at the front of the pedal chain is all, it would work just as well. You don't need all that junk on board the guitar unless you need to do tone changes in real time in a single song, playing live, basically. So while I was planning to do all that, I've kind of got a gut feeling that it'll be a waste of time, kind of the same way that my gut told me that the fretless wasn't going to turn out that great, and my gut was right. And I have a feeling that, you know, I'll go through and I'll put in 3 humbuckers with coil split and series parallel and the whole 9 yards, and blend 1 meg blend pots for each pickup and stuff like this, and maybe even a preamp, separate preamp for the Piezo, and I could also put the onboard EQ, just go crazy, and give it a master volume and a blast and things like that. But in the end, I'd probably end up keeping it on the bridge and blast all the time, pretty much, and the rest of the tones, yeah, they'd be there, and yeah, it would have, 35 voicings or something like that, just built into the guitar itself. But you could get pretty much all of those with a decent EQ in the pedal chain, so I'm kind of thinking that it would be a waste of time. And I've done these kind of things before on the, I guess it was either the Curve Tri or the Curve Tri tail tuner, Curve Tri, I guess. I did coil A split, coil B split, humbucker in parallel, and the ability to swap the phase on either coil of the humbucker. And phase doesn't do anything on a single pickup, but the rest of the stuff did. But parallel versus series was like, it was a little quieter and a little brighter, and not that impressive, to me personally at least. So at this point, I'm not really sure. I looked at this thing and how to put a bar piezo on it, and there's not really a good way, but a disc might work under here, and so that would be something to test. And then it was like, well, do I implement humbucker coils in parallel? I've done it in the past and I wasn't that impressed, but maybe I should implement it anyway. Coil split, actually I did that on guitar number 3, and that seemed to be, the hassle to benefit ratio wasn't that bad. It works, and the wiring for it is trivial. It takes a single pole, single throw switch, and that's it. And you just connect that across the coil split wires and the ground, and you're done. So coil split is a real no-brainer. It's probably the easiest thing to implement. So as long as you're just implementing that alone. If you get into that plus other things, I mean, it's like, I got up to the point where I was checking into getting 2-pole 5-way rotary switches so that you could do A, coil B, both coils in series, both coils in parallel, or pickup turned off. And then all you would need would be a phase switch for that pickup and a blend knob for that pickup. So yeah, there's like, so I'm not really sure what to do on the electronics. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the guitar and then test a bunch of different electronics and make up my mind then. See if like this works for piezo, and let's see what else. If this works for piezo, should I run both the piezo preamp and the onboard EQ, or should I just run the piezo preamp and run all the pickups through them? Or should I use blend pots, and will they be enough, or do I need a master volume as well? Exactly which pickups to use, I've got all kinds of choices. Whether I should bother with A coil split versus B coil split, or whether I should just, like, use the one by the bridge for the bridge pickup coil split, and use the one by the neck for the neck pickup coil split, and then just pick one coil or the other for the center for the middle coil, for the middle pickup coil split. Because, it's like, they'll have, some of these guitars are wired so that it's like coil split on the 2 inner coils, or coil split on the 2 outer coils, and stuff like this. And once again, you're talking very minor differences in the tone or voicing that you get, and it's almost nitpicky. It's there, it's noticeable, but it's kind of nitpicky. And it's, once again, something that you couldn't get by just playing around with an EQ. So I'm just, yeah. I mean, it's like, I suppose to be thorough, I should do at least one build where I go crazy on the voicing, just to really figure out what's worth and what's not. So far, from everything that I've done, I've determined that coil split seems to be worth it, hassle-benefit ratio, and series parallel does not seem to be worth it, hassle-to-benefit ratio. But once again, in both of those cases, it's not something that couldn't also be done with just an EQ. So I'm starting to think, I switch back and forth, and now I'm starting to switch back towards less is more, and you just need, like, one pickup and an output jack, and then do all the rest of the signal processing in the pedal chain or someplace downstream of the output jack. Because this isn't 70 years ago when they invented the LP or the Tele, and you don't really, the gear in the pedal chain and the stuff that's downstream of the output jack in your signal chain is way better than what they had 70 years ago, and can probably do a better job than anything you can put on board the guitar itself, by and large. So I'm really thinking that, in this day and age, probably, you just put a pickup in as you just use the thing almost like a MIDI input device. You just have a pickup, and it just puts the signal out, and then you do all your signal processing downstream of that, and no signal processing at all really on the guitar whatsoever, other than just whatever voice happens to come out of the pickup, and then you can change that with an EQ to make it sound like any other kind of pickup you want. So I'm starting to lean in that direction again, and then all the rest of it is nice, but really not necessary. You don't need a master on-off switch. You can always just unplug the thing, But then again, it's nice. It sure would be nice to have, 3 pickups and blend knobs, and you can get a billion different sounds out of it like that. But you can also, do the same thing by futzing around with your gear. So, yeah. So, I think part of the reason why this isn't more common knowledge, one might say, is the fact that your average guitarist doesn't use an EQ pedal and doesn't realize the power of an EQ pedal to make any guitar sound like any guitar by and large. And me personally, I'm not chasing a tone. I'm not going and saying, I want this sound on this song by this band, and then going out and doing my homework and finding out all the gear they used in order to record it, and then going out and buying all that gear, and then boom, I've got my tone. The same way they got it. Of course, it could be that they used something that you can't afford or is no longer available or something, and then you got to fake it with, an emulation of some sort. But I'm not chasing tones, so I'm not trying to find 1957 PAF humbuckers or something like that. So I'm just going to build this thing, and when the time comes, I'll figure out what electronics to put on it. All right, enough rambling. Time to make something happen. So, generally speaking, I tend to work on my builds from the top down, and this is what I've got to start with here. The very first thing is, this is a different kind of nut than the Steinberger nut, so that's going to get swapped out for a Steinberger nut. There might be a slight difference in the way that it's attached. The screw holes might be in a different spot. Maybe not. Have to see. Since it's going to be getting the green marble with gold hardware, this bracket will either get replaced with something in like a brass, or maybe try squirting it gold, and if it doesn't look too tacky, can use that. The neck itself is pretty much ready to go. There's just a hint of sprout. I'm going to try a little sandpaper and see if I can just clean it up that way, and otherwise I'll probably end up putting the whammy on it with the files. And maybe a little bit of oil and a coat of wax on the back, and I think this neck should be good to go. So let me get cracking on that. I suspect this hole here is not quite perpendicular. It'll work okay, but that was careless of me. I have no excuse. I didn't have this thing perfectly straight when I drilled my pilot hole. I should be using the mini drill press, and then that kind of error would not occur. So, but it's really only cosmetic in nature. It seems to be off a little left to right, ever so slightly. I think it's canted ever so slightly at this angle, but such is life. That's what you get for being lazy. So, while I'm waiting for the next screws to dry, I noticed it was still a little rough down here. So I grabbed a bit of 320 and I just kind of did one of these numbers on both sides and knocked them down a little bit more. And that seems to have taken care of things. So, don't want to leave any steps out for anybody who's following closely. So, Amazon day, and got some junk for the shop. 600 grit sandpaper, 6-pack of rattle can lacquer. What else? Oh, 10-pack of little round dime-sized batteries for guitar tuners and such, and the 2.5 millimeter mono jacks required for the Piezo pickup jack on the back of the preamp that I've got in the box there for this guitar build. So if I end up using the preamp, that's the jack you need in order to plug in one. It uses a 2.5 and a 3.5. It uses a 2.5 stereo, actually, maybe, I think, for the mic, and it uses a 2.5 for the Piezo. And so this is what you need for the Piezo. And so I can use this to hook up like the disc Piezo to it, if I decide to go that route. The disc Piezo and the bar Piezo, technically neither of them not really has to be run through a preamp. It's just louder if you do. They are not as loud as a regular pickup, generally speaking, but they're, they still work even without a preamp. So this will be the first thing to test. That right there. Because that'll go there. And then this will go here. My wires are in the way. Right about like that. Yeah, so that'll be the first thing to test. Okay, I think that's going to do it for this video. So until the next one, everybody, have a good one.